This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages, right here on this play spot. Welcome to Gaming Division. I am Kamurai.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're here to talk about games and stuff and things we've played. How's life, Kevin? How's gaming life for you?
Pretty good. I haven't done a whole lot this week. It's been kind of a crazy thing with house stuff breaking and having to fix that.
How dare life?
Have a better life?
Said, how dare life?
Oh, yeah, I know. Life's a bitch. Let's see. What have I played this week? I played a little bit of Final Fantasy VII. That one's...
I was laughing so hard because I was just thinking Cave Johnson Lemons. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Are you?
No.
It's from Portal 2. It's like, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Get mad. Send the lemons back. Ask to see life's manager. There's this whole thing where he's like, I'm going to have my scientists design exploding lemons and burn your house down.
I think you've told me about that.
That's
Kate okay.
Johnson is wonderful, and it relates to video games.
Oh, yeah, so it's relevant. Let's see.
Of. But you were saying Final Fantasy VII, something about that.
Oh, yeah. I was playing some Final Fantasy VII. Not terribly long ago, I actually went and picked up a PlayStation 2 just on an old nostalgic whim, and Final Fantasy VII, which is way more than it ever should have cost me, but I did it anyway. And I've been playing through that. I'm almost toward the end of first disc right now, so I think it's been a couple of days since I've played. I've played it so many times I can never really remember exactly where I am. But I want to say I was, Mount Corel maybe, something like that. So for those of you not familiar, I'm probably 2/3 of the way through the first disc, about 20-25 hours in altogether. I've been picking it up sporadically, haven't really been playing it super consistently because I've been trying to play a bunch of different stuff. We got some new board games that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, so I've been playing that, playing stuff online with you. It's also kind of a weird setup here, the way I've got it set right now, because I'm a little bit isolated when I play PlayStation 2 specifically. So that doesn't look like a good face.
I had the camera set on me, so the entire time you were talking, I showed my face. So if you can see that, Kevin, speak up.
I can't see it. I can only see you anyway. So
it doesn't flash back and forth for you?
No, not when it's just me and you.
I fucking hate Hangouts. It's nice it's available. It's really sweet that it started this whole, like, you can talk on the internet thing, but there's some technical things I do not enjoy about it. And that's just my fault, really, when it comes down to it. And now I have it focused on you while I'm talking. There we go. I was like, why isn't it working? Okay, but you were saying about the first 25 minutes of FF7, right?
They said I'm probably 20-25 hours in right now,
which
is a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a long time to play through the first disc. The first disc you can probably finish about 20 hours. I'm probably maybe 2/3 of the way through the first disc. So I've got a ways yet to go, but I'm playing really slowly. More for like the nostalgic factor and to try and experience all the different pieces, because I'm just young enough that when Final Fantasy VII was huge, I was pretty young, a little young to appreciate all of the pieces of that game. So when it came out, I was actually 7. So I didn't really play it until I was like 10 or 12, and then going back to it as an adult, it's a very different game from what I remember. So that's really interesting to experience it a second time.
Are you that much young? God damn, fucking baby. Because I was in high school, and I remember that being a big thing, and I remember going, this looks neat. This isn't what I played on Super Nintendo. Thomas, why didn't you play it like my neighbor? Because he had the PlayStation at the time, and when they were going to fancy CDs,
no more cartridges.
Fuck, I was like, "What are you doing? You're doing it wrong. You're breaking it. How are you going to do all this?" And they had solutions. I'm still not convinced it was the right one, even for the time. But I watched Thomas play through most of Final Fantasy VII, and two things really irked me about the game. Well, technically 3 things, but one's like kind of part of the other. The first was the summons. Is that the right word for that? Because they were just as bad in FF Tactics. Well, they were almost as bad in FF Tactics, and I love that game. And so, but as long as you weren't playing a summoner, you didn't have to deal with it. So, like, occasionally I would like play I'd have a summoner character, I'd have them do their thing, I'd go to the bathroom and come back, or whatever. Like, it was a weird opportunity for breaks.
Yeah.
That you can relate to that in FF7, especially Knights of the Round. What was that? Literally like 5 minutes of animation?
I don't know. I have to look it up to see how long it actually takes. But I know that was one of the longest ones. I mean, even some of the first ones you get, like Shiva and Bahamut and stuff like that, are really long.
They're extraordinarily long for what they actually do. But oh Jesus, I remember that being Thomas's favorite fucking summons, and he'd just sit there and laugh. It's like, why? It's like, so that was like one of the big aesthetic things, because at the time that was the coolest animation in tech ever.
Yeah.
Oh geez. Okay, I'm trying to look up the time it takes, but it looks like it varies. So
for Knights of the Round?
Yeah. What the? Okay, it's saying like 10 to 15 minutes for this. Oh, hold on. Each do the materia. Each summons around a minute and 20. So okay, a minute 20. It's still a long time.
That's a long time to
sit there and just have to watch it with no other option. Okay, the other thing is the materia system. And I don't know why, but I picked a fight on Mayhem's Muse. It's Mayhorn. She just started streaming. She's starting with Final Fantasy VII. She's part of the Weirdlings group. She plays Dominions of Esland every other Sunday over on twitch.tv/.geek. But she is starting on her own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/mayhems_muse. And then she's porting it over to her YouTube channel, which is not named yet. But if you look for Mayhem's Muse, you'll find it. Or find her Twitter at Mayhem's Muse, and it'll link you there. But she started there, and I started picking the fight about materia, because she's like, I love the materia system. I was like, hate. So I was like, no, it's a bad version of the Magi system, which I truly believe. Some asshole took like this wonderfully cool idea that they added in FF7, which I don't even really like to begin with. Like, it's neat to, like, you give them a Magicite to hold, which is a dead Esper, a dead fantastical beast, and then they imbue a power to you. And the more you use that, the more you learn, and the more you can use that power on your own. So eventually you can train everyone up to be magic users, which is a bullshit way to play that game. But for the people that you do use for magic users, I think that's a great way to do it. So they took it one step further, and they're like, well, let's just train the rock. And then whoever's holding the rock can cast spells. And that's what they did in Final Fantasy VII. And it makes me want to break CDs. Because it's the only way to stop people from playing it. Thoughts, Kevin?
I never really played Final Fantasy VI, so I never viewed it as like a flawed system from before. Like, it didn't seem really different. So, and again, because I was so young, that's kind of like the breakout game for me into role playing and stuff like that. Because I was a baby, and apparently still am. But I always enjoyed it. As a younger person, I was a little bit more difficult to understand the nuances and how to maximize that to your benefit. Even now, I can see that, like, where there are flaws with it and things like that. But I can see what you're saying. If you view it like they have a rock that, when they hold it, gives them magical powers. Sounds a little silly.
I'm not against that on its own. Like, this rock gives me fire powers.
Right.
Like, because it's like equipping into an amulet, which allows you to tap into that mystical ether. The problem is that you have rocks that you can get like multiple things. Like the rock learns the spell, you don't.
Right.
And depending upon which rocks you have equipped, that character is like this pseudo badass because the other characters all train these rocks.
Right.
So, like, if you can only have one of these rocks because they conflict, that I wouldn't have an issue with, and that's how it worked in FF6. But being able to have one person train your rock and then give it to another person so that they can have a better fire spell, that's just weird to me. And then on an extension of that, it destroys the class system.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the job class system. Final Fantasy 1 had it. Final Fantasy 2 actually experimented with a weapon system, which is the first time I think that ever occurred in a video game. And if anyone's familiar with Secret of Mana, it was that system, but they applied it in a traditional RPG setting, and it failed horribly. Even in Japan, it was bad. So it never came here officially. And then Final Fantasy 3 eventually came here, but that was the first time we had where you could switch classes in the middle of the game. So if you got tired of someone being I think Onion Knight was the starting class, a ninja or whatever, you could change them over to a mage, and then their stats shifted a little bit depending on their level and their current abilities. And then Final Fantasy IV went back to a more traditional setting with a good story, which is why it came over here as Final Fantasy II. And then Final Fantasy V went back to Final Fantasy III's class structure and kept a good story in line. Not that the stories from 1 or 3 were bad, but they just weren't fantastical like 4 and 6 were, because those are by far the best stories. Other than up to that point.
Yeah.
Because arguably Final Fantasy VII is the greatest Final Fantasy story ever. And I actually prefer Tactics. I think they're the two best stories Final Fantasy has ever touched. And I think it really comes down to using the people that they had when they were Squaresoft. When they went to Square Enix, it was a really big break in how they did things because Enix took over. And we see that with FF7 when Nintendo decided, or I'm sorry, when they Square decided to combine with Enix and break contract. It all happened around the same time. I'm just not sure what order.
I know that
Nintendo. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I know FF7 was released under the SquareSoft name.
They
so
were,
it must have been after.
But it doesn't mean that it wasn't like
Before
Enix wasn't in charge. It just means it was developed under SquareSoft and Enix hadn't put their brand on it yet. I'm willing to bet that it did. It officially the merger officially happened after Final Fantasy Tactics, which came after 7 because Cloud is in Tactics as well.
Okay.
Technically, Aerith is. Is it Aerith or Aerith?
It's the international thing over in Japan, and I think the international name is Aerith. It was written in the English version as Aerith.
Really? I don't know why. That's so backwards.
Yeah, I don't know why.
In Japanese, it would be like Erisu.
Yeah.
And then here it would be Aerith, but like if it's written as Aerith there, I don't even know how you spell that. That's weird.
I think it's the same spelling, just with a TH instead of an S.
Well, no, I mean in katakana. But I'm not very good at Japanese, so let's clear that up right.
Neither am I.
So that's interesting that you're playing through it. She's only she's under 10 hours in. She's done like a few 2 hour or so streams at this point.
Okay.
I'm having trouble keeping up with everything I want to watch with the new seasons coming up, so I'm not fully in there. Like I still need to catch up on Twilight Chorus over on Wizardry's channel. I always feel like I watch it and then he releases the next episode. So I'm a bad fan. So other than that, with everything that's been going on, let me talk about mobile gaming real quick because we talked about this. You remember Free Flow, right?
Yeah, we talked about that last week. when we talked about Fallout Shelter.
I've gotten better with planets too, but most of the time has gone to free play, and I just want to show this. That I have no, don't do that. Bad Rooster Teeth. That I have completed most of the packs on here.
Okay.
Um,
this is free flow.
Yeah, I've got after I get through the 7x7 Mania pack, because I started with 8 and 9 because I knew that other ones were easier and I'd done them before. So like I did this so backwards. I started with 8 and 9, then I went back through the regular because I knew they were small ones I could just bust through real quick. I skipped over bridges because I want to do bridges as a whole own thing. So after I get done with the 7x7, I'm gonna go back through the extreme pack, rainbow pack, jumbo pack. My problem with this game, which makes me want to throw my phone out the window occasionally, is I would never actually do that. It's just a joke for the record. Is that sometimes they design these fucking levels where like you do it and it's done, but they're like, oh, you didn't fill in the space because they just made a puzzle that was smaller than the area.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, so it's like literally it takes up everything but the bottom 3 lines, and then you have to take one of the ones on the bottom and just fill that in. It's just ridiculous. It's so dumb. It's like, no, you made a bad puzzle. Go away. And it really feels like there's like 3 or 4 people that design puzzles for that game, and you can tell when their puzzles came up.
Interesting.
So like if you just play it long enough, you start to notice patterns here and there. But
that makes sense. That's probably true in a lot of games too.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Like you see that with art styles a lot. You'll notice like certain strokes or design formats that you're like, oh, this was this person here. And you see that a lot with like major designers, like was it not Miyamoto? Yeah, well Miyamoto, yeah, but who's the Metal Gear Solid guy? Kojima? I think it's Kojima.
I think that's right.
Yeah, so like he's got a very notable style as well. The guy who did Castlevania, the guy who did Mega Man. They've got, and I say the guy because there was obviously a team of people that did it, but somebody came up with the idea and the art direction and the overall feel of the game. Like those games have directors.
Yeah. It is Kojima, by the way.
Okay.
Hideo Kojima.
Hideo Kojima. Yeah, that's right. And I've never played a Metal Gear game that I can remember, which means I probably played a couple of the original ones back on like NES or SNES and went, what the fuck is this? And put it down.
I think the first one came out on PlayStation 1, Metal Gear Solid. I don't know if there are any before that.
Yeah, there's Metal Gears before that.
Oh, okay.
Metal Gear Solid was like a certain branch of it.
Okay.
Because Solid Snake was originally an NES character, which is why he shows up in Smash Brothers on the Wii. On the Wii? Yeah, on the Wii. For Brawl, I think.
Okay.
Smash Brothers, Melee, Brawl, and then Wii U. Okay. I don't know. There are so many games that like I just want a Pokemon version of it. Like Smash Brothers is fantastic, but like they kept rotating out Pokemon, and it's like you keep taking out the one I like and adding in other ones. And it's like, can I just have one that's all Pokemon? And that would be awesome if they just did Smash Brothers Pokemon. If they just did Blood Bowl Pokemon, like I would love to see a Pikachu team out there fighting Charizards and stuff. And with the elemental stuff, you'd have to rein that in a little bit. Like you'd have to have an advantage, but it couldn't be a like a knockout advantage. Like you couldn't just have one Pikachu take out an entire water team.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh yeah, you hurt him, but he's still gonna run through with the ball. Or you have like a chance to stun him, but it's not guaranteed. Things like that. And then you'd have to course fix the advantage system because the 2d6 or the d6 model that it's using is not outdated, but unreliable. I totally believe that there should be a chance at failure, but I think that 1/6 with Blood Bowl doesn't work.
I agree with that.
But I say that, and I'll play the damn game all day long whenever anybody wants. So it's not like I'm not a fan. I want a little bit more out of it. If someone had made the exact same game with a better probability system, I would play that. And I played 40K for like a decade. I loved D6 for that. That was great on that big a scale, but with only 11 players aside?
Yeah.
It gets less fun with that sort of failure rate. And Iron Kingdoms, when War Machine came out, like that seemed to be a nice mid-level solution. The problem is you can't roll in mass, which is not a problem for that game because it's designed on such a small scale.
Mm-hmm.
You use 2d6 for each attack, which means that you've got this character doing that attack, and if you have large squads, you manage that however you manage that, because it's always model to model, unless you're doing a combined attack, and then that saves you dice rolls.
Okay.
Still can't roll everybody at the same time. You still have to roll per attack. What would be interesting, I don't know why anyone hasn't created these yet, is if you had probably because we have like phones that can do it easier. But I would say like put 2 dice in a bubble essentially, and then just roll that many bubbles per attack.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that would work. But you'd probably want small dice and small bubbles so you can hold a couple of them.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
I want that to exist now. Whether or not it becomes popular is another thing. But
business opportunity.
Shit, if like I think the problem is if that did catch on, people would just buy those little 25-cent bubble things and use those instead. So we'd have to be a very specific, very good product.
One problem I think though is like if it's completely round and you roll it, how do you decide when to stop it so you can read the dice? Like who stops it? When is it fair to stop it?
Well, if you're not an insane person, you roll it so that it stays on the table. Like if you just like throw it like craps every time, then you shouldn't be allowed to use dice. But
right.
And that's the situation we break out the baby box for you. And my thing is like we give you a box lid and you roll in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking the opposite. If there's a round on the inside, how do you tell where the dice are? But I think there would be an obvious up in any case.
I think you'd have to have some sort of faces on it, like a D20 or like maybe one with 20 faces or 50 faces, so that it has some flat side to actually stop on, and then on the inside for the dice to actually sit on a little flat spot.
See, and then this is all pointless too, because we could probably create an app or something that did a lot better. And it's like, how many sets of attacks do you want? And then like you just hit that and it does 20 attacks for you all at once.
Yeah.
Of X amount of dice. So you could do 23d6 attacks.
Mm-hmm. You could probably make that on a weekend.
Yeah. I mean, making it look pretty or nice is another thing, but
yeah. But you didn't say that.
Yeah, I mean, like just getting that to work. But number generators are tricky. Like people are really fussy about it. Like that's like a big thing. Like I think in like RTSs, like they get really finicky about random numbers being generated because everything is so precise, and then you got this random number generator that's either too predictable or you can't account for it, so you can't regulate everything else that you normally would. Okay. I want to talk about Super Dungeon Explorer.
All right.
So I'm just gonna be like this for the rest of the podcast.
Boxhead.
You think I'd be more unwilling to do that? I mean, like I had a little bit of scuffle, with them, but finally got my product. I finally got my Dungeon Crystals thing in, but I realized earlier when we were talking, I don't know how much of this you've seen or not. I mean, you were here when I got the original one, so you've seen the
seen the tiles.
The tiles for the Fey Woods and the Forgotten Castle.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely saw those. The Vondrak Manor ones, like there's like a little hallway thing.
Okay.
Like they've got like a little monolith outside. I thought that was cute. They actually did a pumpkin patch.
That's awesome.
There's this little house out in the woods.
Nice.
Like there's so many like fun little tiles here, and then I got the crystal dungeon ones. And these are a lot simpler for the most part. Like it's just rooms of different styles. They actually remind me a lot of the dungeon tiles from the first set from Dragon Peaks.
Yeah, they do look pretty similar.
Like that one actually looks a lot like the one that has all the slow stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. And like here's that's actually the tile I was referring to just then.
Yeah.
And I cut these down so they fit in the box because the original ones don't fit in the box. So I don't know if that was a good idea or not. But when I get version 2 out, I'll probably pick those up. I'm having a lot of trouble with this box now because those are heavy. Like all those tiles together.
Yeah, I bet.
This, and I'm not enjoying the setup anymore. Like all that's in there. I could probably get rid of a couple of them. Oh, good. They're spilling out everywhere. So I'll have to deal with that now. So I've got all the Wave 2 stuff. I'm up to date on all my Super Dungeon Explorer stuff, but they're doing so many things. They've got the video game they're working on. They're working on their RPG version. Brain just exploded. They've got the Ninja Division, Ninja All-Star stuff coming out next year. What was the other thing? They've got individual releases still coming up. Like there's a Jack the Scarecrow. He's got like a pumpkin head character coming out next month, along with Beatrix the Witch, which is another boss. So I'm going to try to keep up with that, but that may or may not go well. And like I've got all these tiles and stuff to work with, and I'm trying to get it all merged over so I can play the mega campaign I've talked to you about before, Super Dungeon Adventure.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll go well, and then I can get a story written off of that. And then I'll probably go back and do one that starts with a single character, and I don't know who I want to concentrate on for that. I did want feedback from you eventually, but
I can do that.
But I'm trying. You were asking me what all came in the thing earlier, and I'm trying to remember who did and who didn't. So I mean, Mistborn Shaman was in the Mistborn Coast thing. Tabular Mage was one of the independent ones. She's actually kind of nasty. I don't know if you can see her stats. But she put some hurt down. She can hold 2 potions. Dolce Candy, Big Titty Ninja Wizard. That's a joke. I don't really care about that. But and then Ninja Cola is actually his own character.
Oh, cool.
He's not a pet. I didn't know that until I got it in. There's Horny Candy. Sir Snapclaw. That's the Worm Knight, the Templar. So he actually gets the mount.
Oh, that's cool.
Glimmerwing's a mini boss. There's no good guy card for her. Oh, I grabbed the bad guy. Oh, I'm showing the bad guy sec because that's one of the cool things. They actually like made good guy, bad guy cards for a lot of them. So I should be looking at the blue ones. Yeah. Your favorite, the Toad.
The Toad. My favorite is King Starfire.
I like Glimmerwing. Glimmerwing actually looks cooler, but Starfire's nasty. He's no longer the baby boss.
I'd say not.
Okay, so Wandering Minstrel. We're just gonna go through these real quick, and then we're gonna jump into talking about some other stuff.
Cool.
Jeez, Deep Root Wolf Rider.
Okay.
He's got a big puppy he rides.
That sounds like fun.
And then Twilight Knight, the models are in the other room. I don't want to go grab them. But she's one of the ones that has the big ass cape that I don't like. Oh yeah, I have 2 candy cards now because there's one in the upgrade pack and there's one that comes with Brave Mode candy.
Oh, cool.
Ninjas. He's the other one that has the giant cape that I hate.
Yeah.
But he is a cool thing, and he's actually an elf. You don't see elves go plate melee very often.
No.
We're in Clara Templar, which I showed you earlier. I like this character just thematically because it's a Joan of Arc based character.
I can see that.
She's even got a little banner and everything. But I want to say zombie survivor Marie Claude, which is actually a real person. I didn't realize that.
Interesting.
She's actually a person who exists in real life. You can look her up. She's a cosplay model. But she's like one of my favorites. She's equipped with a rolling pin and a frying pan.
That's awesome.
And then you're pretty familiar with the rest of these.
Yeah, we got a couple of games in of
good old Trent.
the new. I'm Trent.
Hi, I'm Trent. Rawr! Trying to see if anything got mixed in where it shouldn't be. Yeah, Mistborn Shaman, Charlie Book Mage, Kaylee, love my Kaylee. The art's always just so good, and then you can even play as the Succubus now.
Oh, that's cool.
As one of the heroes. I like the Dark Hero thing. That's something so cool I thought that they did. I need to white box these cards and figure out how to get these tokens in. I think that'll eliminate most of the nonsense going on in this box right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's always a problem. But speaking of white boxing, I did get an Epic today, and then I want to switch that over to what we were going to talk about before. Did I do it out of order? We discussed it earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, but I don't know that we had a specific order, so it's all good.
I had certain plot points, I'm sure. But I got an Epic.
Is it Epic?
And it's in all top caps. So yes, you have to pronounce it Epic.
Implied exclamation points.
Which I bet would get really annoying if you were a real retailer.
Yeah.
You have Epic. Go outside. Go outside right now. But it's a card game. You're familiar with Star Realms.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, right?
Yep.
Like it's like Star Realms takes a lot from Magic the Gathering, I would think. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Now, I mean, like people would argue, like, oh, it's only got 4 colors. Do the colors really matter that much in Star Realms, Kevin?
No, not really.
It matters like how many of what you have together, I think. Right?
Yeah, I mean they have some bonuses and stuff, but like it's not like there's any clear dominance. But I would also argue that the colors don't really matter in Magic. I mean, it's more of a preferential thing than anything else. I mean, they do different types of attacks and they have different mechanics, but
it's a style of attack preference. If you like manipulation, you go blue in MTG, anyways. In Star Realms, blue is healing.
Yeah.
Epic has the same sort of system that Star Realms has as far as alliances and bonuses and such. The issue is that Epic runs much more step-by-step like Magic the Gathering. I'm going to explain this to you. I really want your honest reaction.
Okay.
The idea is that you and I sit down, we shuffle up the deck, and we deal 30 cards to each other. Is that right? Yeah, 30. And we each have 30 life, and we're supposed to just draw 5 cards, and then we go from there.
You just play like that?
Yeah.
So I assuming you're attacking each other to lower their life.
Yes.
Is there like any sort of phase and turn, like phase order, phases of turn, or anything like that?
Very similar to Magic Gathering with all the bullshit cut out. There's no quick responses.
Okay.
There is, I'm going to attack you now. here's some spells that are going to accompany my troops. You choose your blockers. You choose some spells that accompany your troops. And then at the end of turn, you can try to fuck me over before the turn actually ends.
Okay.
Don't eat any of that, please. Thank you.
Never let me have any fun.
Well, they like, for whatever reason, cats like cardboard. Jeez.
She's about to get in there.
She's in there. It's a question of whether or not she takes anything out.
Yeah.
And that's all. That I do not want to like scare her any more than I need to. So maybe while she's not looking, I will take this box. Okay. So yeah, so Epic seems to run a lot like that. I thought it was a fantasy deck builder, but they already did that with Star Realm, so I guess why would they?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What makes the game super strange to me is the format that's declared for it, because it's designed to be randomized. You can do draft tournaments with it. It's 2 to 4 players per box. Oh, it's over there. 2 to 4 players per box, and you draft like you normally would. You deal all the cards out evenly, and then everyone takes one and passes, just like you would do for a sealed deck. But it seems like this is the second attempt we've seen to fix the CCG model, because the CCG model is not good for customers. Doesn't stop them from wasting their money on it. But the LCG model was the first attempt we saw, and it was actually a declared attempt by Fantasy Flight to be like, look, we all know the CCG model is broken. Let's try to make something that works a little bit better for the consumer. And they came up with the LCG, which is notably an Android Netrunner. And I hate that game so much that I can't bring myself to look at the other ones. So the LCG models are just dead to me. Though I agree with it for the most part, because it's too messed up to try to sell cards individually, which is what I would do if I was a retailer. I wouldn't sell packs of Magic cards. I'd be like, what do you want?
Yeah.
We have all these singles. I seriously, I wouldn't. No one would open packs of Magic cards in my shop. But regardless, what they offer a lot of different formats in the back of the booklet. And it comes with this cute little Magic the Gathering style rule book, released from like the late 90s. So I thought
awesome.
That was cute too. So behind the glossary, which should always be the last thing other than an index, maybe, there is some explanations for like different formats, and they do have pre-constructed decks. So if you just take that 120 card set and you break it up by color, you have 4 balanced decks.
Okay.
So you can play a color if you like, and I'd attempted to try certain things like that with Star Realms. Yes, to some various degrees of success. I think the biggest problem was just nobody else was into it. Like I wanted like a it's not Epic. What's it called? Oh, I can't believe I forgot. Games Workshop Space Game. Of course, I get Space Hulk. Oh my God! Why? I can't believe I forgot this. It's Battleship Gothic. That's what it is. So I was essentially trying to play Battlefleet Gothic with Star Realm cards, and I really thought it was there's interesting ways to do it, but the game's not designed for it.
Okay.
So this kind of addresses that in a different genre of gaming, I guess, or thematic genre. Fucking hate my neighbors. She's just fucking childish bitch. In fact, I can hear her from here is a horrible sign. So like that was really fun. And we did note that it is available on Tabletop Simulator. Yes.
Yes, it is. We haven't played it yet, though.
What did we play though, Kevin?
We played Splendor. Yay!
Oh, we didn't actually talk about Blood Bowl. Oh,
yeah.
The game. Okay, we'll talk. We'll go do that after this. That's what I was missing earlier. So Splendor. So what did you think of your first game of Splendor and or Tabletop Simulator?
Splendor I really enjoyed. There were some hiccups because since we played it on Tabletop Simulator, it doesn't automatically regulate the rules because it's not truly a digital version of Splendor as much as it is a digital platform to play the tabletop version of Splendor.
Days of Wonder has released a digital version of Splendor, though.
Oh, cool.
So
definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, add that to your wish list.
So I really liked Splendor. I thought it was great. It was interesting because I missed a couple of the rules when we were first starting out. So like the currency limit of 10. So I think that led to a little bit of rule bending. So I don't know how true to form the game was that we played, but
that's my fault. I wasn't paying attention to how much I was looking at your coins. Anytime I looked at your side, I looked at your cards and I was like, what is he doing? And then what you were doing was hoarding coins, which was my initial strategy as well. And I was told I couldn't do that.
But it was a really fun game. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I mean, there's like 2 options when you take your turn, which always makes it go really fast. Especially because you don't have those people who are like, well, I have 17 different options. What should I do? And then you wait an hour for them to take their turn, and then you lose interest in the game altogether.
Yeah, you do one of 3 things. You do one of those 3 things one of 2 ways, and then you're done. It moves so quick and real, like when you got 4 people who know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. So overall, I really enjoyed the game a lot. I would definitely play that again. As far as Tabletop Simulator, it took some getting used to. Partially, I'm sure there's like a tutorial or something, and part of my frustration with it came from not knowing all the controls or having real easy access to it.
Now, and here's again where I failed you. I've gone through that before. I got on with Mary the Knitting Dev. Weirdlings, what's up? And we went through it to try to see the validity of it for potential streams.
Okay.
And what I like about streaming is, yes, you can break it down and try to edit it up and make it a little bit fancy, but part of the appeal is that it's raw footage. Me. Like, this is a personal interaction that you were having, that we were sharing with an audience, whether or not it exists. So to me, that's part of the appeal. It's part of like what I like to watch when I listen to when I listen to podcasts. I don't want an edited, chopped up like version. I want like, oh, this is them playing Splendor for an hour. This is them playing Lords of Waterdeep for 2 or 3.
Right.
It depends how many people you play with. So like, I really like the idea of using Tabletop Simulator to stream with, but there are certain things that I want to be able to do that I am having technical issues with Windows 10. So I think that's what it comes down to, is just being able to technically like format everything how I want to format. Did they just knock down a trash can? They did. And then Ivory's trying to get away from it like they didn't do it. You know better.
Cats are jerks.
Yeah, it's just funny to watch them all swarm around the chaos. Okay, so I definitely look forward to doing more Tabletop Simulator. I would like to play. I mean, like I would rather have the digital version. Obviously, like if we play Catan or Small World, I think I would rather play on there. But if we play with someone who doesn't have that, and I own everything Small World has made, and plus the digital versions, I think I would rather pull out Tabletop Simulator and be like, hey, I'm going to play my friends. It's very much the philosophy I've had with making Gamebox, and I have to iron out some wrinkles on the chart issue that I've had rotating that. But I'm almost there. I think if I just do some adjustments at like 90-degree angles, I think it'll be fine. And then I can do it with the other charts that exist, and then we can move forward from there. Because I think that's the only thing holding me back from going to version 8. 6 is still a fucking mess. So I've got to go through that and make sure that it ends at a right version. But I think if I can get that done, I get this chart issue done with 7, I think we can move into that, and we can get the simple game suite available for playtesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so it just comes down to getting some of that art I think we have to do different art right now, anyways, for that. That, and I gotta see about scanning some of my Forgotten Kings shit so that we can do a tabletop simulator for it, maybe.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Ooh, that would be fun. So I'm gonna go deal with this, I think, here in a minute. You have anything else for games and stuff you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, that game of Blood Bowl today, but we crashed during that, so
Yeah,
never really finished it. That was unfortunate.
I played Vampires Day. You didn't see a lot of it. You saw, I think, one of them freak out, maybe. Oh yeah, like I had to keep biting my thralls. That's what it was. So what do you think of going against vampires?
It was interesting. It was definitely different. I didn't have a lot of opportunity to really focus on how to play against them because we died at halftime. I enjoyed it. I wasn't winning, so I didn't enjoy it as much as the last game I played. But I don't know. I mean, I think you were passing the ball, which was interesting to see. I hadn't seen that because not a lot of teams are real passing teams. But I know that, like, I think it was elves typically pass. So it was kind of similar to that, and it was really hard for me to do anything to stop them, really, because they seemed overall pretty powerful compared to, like, my skinks, for example.
Well, the vampires are, but, like, the thralls are just normal humans.
Okay.
Like, no real abilities. So there's always that going on. And your skinks are weak. Like, that's just the fact of it. You want a maximum amount of Saurus out there to beat the crap out of me and then let the skinks run the ball in.
Mm-hmm.
And with vampires, they've got strength 4, agility 4, so they're good at everything. So
Yeah.
if I can get more vampires out there, it's gonna put some hurting on you. But they're always rolling that bloodlust nonsense. So if they can't get to somebody to bite like a thrall, then they jump into the stands to feed.
Awesome. That'd be cool.
It's just fucking ridiculous. They'll come back at the next time period, but oh jeez. Real quick, speaking of Mary the Knitting Dev, I forgot about this. She started doing I think she's calling it .news show, where she's talking about things that have been happening in the gaming industry in the past month, and she brought up all sorts of shit I had no idea about, and none of the shit I would have talked about. So real quick, we're gonna do just a quick moment here. Oh my god, when did the expansions for these games come out? Takedo. Baby pandas are a thing, chibis.
Ooh.
It's the chibi expansion. Takedo has a Crossroads expansion I didn't even know about. And I have no idea what that does to change Takedo because it's Takedo. You are a tourist in Japan. Like, that's the whole thing.
Okay. I never played that one, so.
It's really interesting game for how simple it looks. You essentially, the board is this thing that is essentially a line from left to right, and it has a bunch of stops on it. And depending on how many people are playing, you all go to the next available stop, or you can shortchange yourself, I think, to try to manipulate the turn order.
Okay.
So depending upon what you're gathering, you can get different sets. Like you can be taking pictures the whole time. You can stop and taste foods, more expensive foods. You can stop and make friends. It's really interesting, the scoring system there.
Cool.
What else came out with expansions? Oh, Five Tribes came out with expansion a while ago. But that game is going to be forever different in my head. Because the way Matt and I played it, you know Matt, like we played it like on an advanced version. Like, because we misread a rule. One rule changed the whole game. And it was all about how you have to stop. Because we were playing where you have to drop off and collect at the end of your turn. It's not it at all. You don't have to collect. You can just, as long as he has a friend, he's happy. So that's got to be interesting how much different Five Tribes is now with the expansion in it. Ticket to Ride put out a England Great Britain expansion.
Cool.
I say expansion, but for those games, it's just versions, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, it's like almost a whole new, an additional game.
Yeah, because it's like, well, we're gonna play Ticket to Ride. Well, what version are you gonna play? Not which expansion.
Yeah, because I don't think you can add it to the base game.
Yeah, Big Cities and what's the other one?
There's a Indian one. Pakistan,
No.
maybe?
There's for the American version. There's there's 2 expansions. One of them's called Big Cities. I think one of them's called like Mega Bucks or something.
Okay. There's also the 1912 expansion, but that just gives you like the full size cards.
I think the 1912 expansion is both those expansions.
Oh, okay.
So that may be what I'm thinking is just that. Because it's the Big Cities and Long Roads or something nonsense like that. Because it gives you the Big Cities gives you more cities. I think there's actually a different map or different routes to there. That's the whole point. Anyways, I'm rambling in circles. And then there was one other game that I was really surprised. Like, there's all this the stuff that's going on with Soda Pop lately, but I'm so sorry. I really thought I remembered it. Of course, Town of Curry's Oktoberfest is finishing up their Kickstarter. I should have that in another week or two. I'm so happy to get that in finally. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the Soda Pop stuff, though. I'm going to leave it there and stare at it for like a week. Just angry. Kevin, name some games.
7 Wonders, Dominion. There was a new Dominion expansion recently, relatively recently.
I played it and I did not enjoy it a super lot, but it had some neat influences from Thunderstone.
Okay.
I do like that mechanic being added in. I just don't like it as it is, and I wish it had used the word permanence instead of ongoing. What is it called? What are the orange cards called?
I have no idea what they're actually called.
But whatever the orange cards are, it was called an ongoing that. So it doesn't go away at end of turn. It just stays there.
Okay.
It's a permanent card. Really
indefinitely? Because I know like in Seaside it's for 1 extra turn.
Yeah, so the orange cards were introduced in Seaside, and I don't remember what they were called, but Jesus. But so they stay out an extra turn or whatever, and then you clean it up. There are now cards that will stay in play for good.
Okay.
Which to me says, yes, I want those because that means they're not in my deck. And to get those cards, some of them are very different because now they have like evolution cards where like this card at the end of after it's been played, when you're cleaning it up, you have the choice to level it up to the next version. And then one card it goes up to the 4th level, and then the 4th level just stays there. And you get like a -1 to all costs or something.
Yeah, there are similar cards in like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that.
Yeah, and obviously, like that's what we've gone through. But the evolutionary thing is very much Thunderstone.
Yeah,
and I really like that game for a deck builder. Like, as much as I like Dominion, there's all these other deck builders that I really enjoy, that I'd probably rather play. But of course, when it comes to Dominion, it's like, well, of course I like Dominion. Just
not as much.
I'd rather play Star Realms. I'd rather play Ascension. I'd rather play Tano Curry, Barbarossa. Maybe that was it, because apparently Barbarossa, not God. There's another game that has the same mechanics as Barbarossa called Elheim, or Alheim. I don't remember. But it's based in Africa, and the German corps there are fighting the British.
Okay.
So it's less acceptable from an alliance standpoint. But like you get a lot of the same. You get a lot of the same with you. There's like the crazy artwork, the same great mechanics. They added a new mechanic compared to Barbarossa that after you defeat a city, there might be a fallout of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do you have the thing like ahead of time that could actually boost the city. Afterwards, you could have like an assassination or something happen.
Cool.
Which, yeah, mechanically solid. Looks great. I just wish we weren't playing as Germans. And like, it's not even like, I was gonna say reputable Germans. It's not even like famous Germans. It's not even like the least worst part of the war. It's like, it's this thing that happened in Africa that probably no one remembers happening in Africa except for the Africans. If we're being honest. Because I was like, oh yeah, they did do stuff in Africa, didn't they? That was really my response. And like Germany, like really tried to fuck the world on that war. I don't know. It's so the fact that we have games that celebrate it like bother me, but at the same time, I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah. It's hard to reconcile that sometimes. Mechanics versus thematics.
Yeah, and I know they have a different opinion in Japan because they were part of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure Italy has a different viewpoint than we do. But I don't know. Like, okay, I'll say this one last thing. You can respond if you want, but I think I'm going to be done with this discussion after this. If you are against the imperialism that Germany tried to instigate, like the modern day equivalent is America trying to financially conquer the world and create a financial empire. We're just not changing borders the way we do it.
Yeah, I can see that.
But that's where a lot of the people like who don't like us are coming from. Is there between us and Israel, like there's a lot of financial networking going on to create bullshit. Now we're into politics and not video games, Kevin. What did we do?
I don't know how you did it. I just let you run with it.
No, stop me.
Stop!
I've been shaking this desk the whole time. Because I don't know. But I think that about wraps us up.
Okay. I think so.
Any parting words of wisdom, Kevin? Any game
make sure you play games. The what?
Any game you're going to be doing?
I definitely want to make a plan to play some Seven Wonders again. Playing through Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy 12. A couple of new console games I'd like to pick up. I'd really like to get Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. That looks great. Don't shake your head at me. The new Batman Arkham Knight, I think it's called. That one looks pretty cool too. And I do want to check out at some point the Elder Scrolls Online. I was in a position to pick it up like when it was supposed to come out the first 17 times, and then it never did, and then I didn't have the money. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait. And now I want to play it, and I broke. So
I love that you just named like all 30 to 60-hour games.
Yeah, big games. But that's okay.
You're never gonna play all that shit.
Maybe.
But like maybe you and I can work out Seven Wonders somehow. Like there might be a TTS for it, and I own everything. So fuck you.
Oh yeah.
Naysayers. All right. Since that's it. I've been Kamurai.
I'm Kevin.
And that's game over. Fuck, I did it wrong. Whatever. If you want to see anything else we're up to, click the annotations and I'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.